Bro, speaking about your girlfriend, you've turned her into a micro influencer as well, given the fact that she features in so many of your videos, in your Instagram reels as well. What is she giving you in return for all of this?
I think I have her is the most grateful thing for me to be. Or wait, let me rephrase it.
Yeah.
So I have her. Is the best thing I have her is the best thing that can
And they,
happen to
so
me.
Harnoor, malab, if you wanna take a couple of minutes to think about what you want to say, do that as well, because with the girlfriend you have to be very careful with what you say. एक गलत शब्द use कर लिया, that's it. बाद में you have to be answerable to her. तो take
श्योर,
your
आप
time.
डाल दो जो डालना है। आपको डर तो दिख ही रहा है मेरे मेरी आवाज से आपको पता चल ही रहा है। when I talk about her, थोड़ा सा डर आ जाता है यार। अब क्या बताऊं।
Correct me if I'm wrong, but since the last time I spoke with you, which was about a couple of years back, you've definitely become a lot bigger, more ripped, jacked, lean, everything. Like, tell me about this fitness transformation of yours.
Sure. So I have been working out since college. Since my first year of college, I was inspired by my roommate. He's from Japan. He was okay at the time. He was from Japan. So I I was lucky that I found the company I needed to be physically fit, and I got awareness through my friends. I haven't read a single book. I didn't read a single book when I was in college. I all what I've learned so far is through my friends. So he inspired me. We went to kickboxing class one day and I felt great. I felt like, oh my God, if I work out with him every day, I'm more productive at work. And that's the moment it clicked me, and I will work out every day. For that, I just was running, because whenever I was going to class from my home or apartment, hostel, jo bhi kehna hai, hostel room to class, it was like around 15-minute walk. You know how big campuses are. Like, you've been at Georgia Tech, it's like up to 30 minutes for you. So I used to run all the way, and by running, I that was my whole workout for the first year. Then I got serious and started going to the gym regularly, but not too serious because I didn't have money to afford my diet. So I was just working out and eating junk food, Maggie, 2-minute noodles, and like those cup noodles, whatever they have. So after graduating from college, when I got the right deal, that's the first time I talked to you. So I was on the not the right deal, but right diet. When I was on the right diet with the same workout regime, I was able to make it. So 2 years of that regular diet plus workout, I was able to transform myself. But those 3 years of college when I was working, it didn't affect that much.
But look at you now. You've become like the poster boy of my protein, huh? Like proudly donning my protein and whatnot. I've seen some of your reels also where you talk about my protein. I think in your videos also, you
Yeah.
endorse the my protein brand, don't you?
Yep, I do.
अरे soon मैं बॉम्बे में देखूंगा billboards में हरनूर की फोटो होगी next to the my protein logo, my protein endorsing हरनूर on like on the biggest of billboards in Bombay.
That'll be a dream.
So what does your current workout routine look like?
Currently, I still try. My goal is like, every day I try to work out 30, 45 minutes, 1 hour, as much time I have. And I followed the rule from Atomic Habits book, 2-minute rule. I'll go to gym if I have, enough time, I'll stay there for 30, 40 minutes. If I do not, I'll still go to continue as a habit for 2 minutes, 5 minutes, just quickly run and quickly do all the sets which are easy to do at the time and come back. So 5 minutes to 50 minutes, depending on the mood.
That's superb, dude. You're mentioning कि मैं कभी books नहीं पढ़ता था. Barely I can count on like one hand how many books I've read. Atomic Habits and whatnot. Look at you. You're a scholar, Harnoor. You're a bookworm.
Honestly, this rule, like, I'm telling you because I've read the book. At the time I was
Uh,
still following it, but I didn't know that it's the book too. It was
so
just my
so so I'm
personal goal.
guessing so I'm guessing James Clear, the author of the book, probably got the inspiration to write about that from you, not the other way around.
Probably. I've been following for more years since he have come up with the book.
he,
More
he
than before
he
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 has come up with the book.
exactly, he probably observed you. He was like, this is a very successful case study. Why is it that this case study with Harnoor Singh works so well? If it works so well, I'm pretty sure it's going to work for other people as well. Let me just steal this idea, write this in my book, and then make it a bestseller, like a multi-million bestseller or something. Did he give you credits,
Yeah,
acknowledgement में तुम्हारा नाम लिखा?
nahi likha mujhe. I have to email him to mention me and gives me some royalty.
You should, man. You should. And I also think you should probably change your WhatsApp DP as well, because I think it's an outdated DP. Okay, I looked at it when I messaged you, like I think last week is when I messaged you, and that picture of yours on WhatsApp is a stark contrast to what you look like right now? Because I think that's a most scrawny photo of Harnoor. This is like Harnoor, like maybe 3-4 years ago, where he's like lean without like muscle mass, but now you're lean but packed with muscle mass as well. So I think it's high time you change your WhatsApp DP.
For sure. Thank you so much for the compliment.
But अभी इतनी मेहनत क्यों करनी है हरनूर? Girlfriend तो है already in the bag. You know, typically what happens is when you're gunning for a girlfriend, when you're gunning for a partner, when you want to look good for people that you might be for potential mates that you might end up meeting, that's when वो अंदर से एक zeal, एक fervor होता है कि यार मेहनत करते हैं, कड़ी मेहनत करते हैं, अच्छा लगना है. अब तो girlfriend is there in the bag, so why so much hard work?
उसके लिए भी I'll mention atomic habits rule. 1% every day versus 1% degrading every day. अगर मैं अपने आप को 1% worse every day करता जाऊंगा, I'll be just 10% of who I am today in 1 year. So I don't want to be that.
That's brilliant, yeah. Matlab, you said I learn a lot speaking with you, Anubhav. It's the other way around, mate. It's the other way around. I learn a lot speaking with you, Harnoor. Yeah. Or the
Thank you.
amount that I learn, or the amount that you learn from me, pales in comparison to the amount that I learn from you. But bro, speaking about your girlfriend, you've turned her into a micro influencer as well. I think it's safe to say, given the fact that she features in so many of your videos and in your Instagram reels as well. What is she giving you in return for all of this?
I think I have her is the most grateful thing for me to be. Wait, let me rephrase it. So
Yeah.
I have her. It's the best thing I have her is the best thing that can
And
happen to me.
Harnoor, malab, if you wanna take a couple of minutes to think about what you want to say, do that as well. Because with the girlfriend, you have to be very careful with what you say, very careful with your words. मतलब फूक फूक कर कदम रखना पड़ता है. एक गलत शब्द यूज कर लिया, that's it. बाद में you have to be answerable to her. तो take
Sure,
your
आप
time.
डाल दो जो डालना. आपको डर तो दिख ही रहा है मेरे मेरी आवाज से आपको पता चल ही रहा है. When I talk about her, थोड़ा सा डर आ जाता है यार. अब क्या बताऊं. So yeah,
Maybe it's the possessiveness that you feel.
sure, that you can say that, yeah. So I am really grateful to have her as compared to koi benefit, because like all the things like that she has done for me, I personally think are not describable in words or in terms of any value.
Kya baat hai. I think when if and when you guys get married, and I hope that is the case, we can definitely carve this part out where you've paid a tribute and an ode to Katie, and Shadi ke din we can play this.
Sure.
That might just, and mujhe please credit de dena, that might just end up becoming my claim to fame. That'll be the time when my YouTube channel finally takes off. You'll say that, okay, this was an excerpt from a conversation that I had with Anubhav Talks.
That could be a good proposal idea for me too. I mean, I'll take it from you and I'll put it there.
As long as you make me your best man during the wedding.
For sure.
But tell me something, if you don't mind me asking, right? If it's getting too personal, then definitely ask me to shut up. And the reason I'm asking this is because I have a story as well that I can relate about my sister, who recently got married to a white guy. So shuru mein, when you started dating Katie and things were getting serious, of course, you have to tell your family. Even if you don't tell your family will find out, only because you upload all of these videos on YouTube. So you can't be coy about this. Was there any backlash about dating a white girl, or perhaps dating someone who's not Punjabi like you are? Was there any backlash, if you don't mind me asking?
I'll be very honest. That's a very interesting question. Since I am in the US, if there was no backlash I faced, like, because all the backlash I can face could be over phone, whenever I talk to them. They didn't behave differently with me at all. But when I went to India and I declared, oh, I'm here in India in Amritsar with my girlfriend Katie, the responses of my family members told me, oh, there is definitely a difference if I was with a Punjabi girl as compared to her, because it's very difficult for them to accept their culture. That's why, like, वो सब कमेंट्स आते हैं जो हर एक को फेस करना पड़ता है. जैसे आपने मूवी देखी होगी लुका छुपी, सो वो सब कुछ मुझे भी, like, I had to feel that and I had to face one big argument I faced. I'm sure your sister might be facing too. That is the idea of maybe, like, getting married at an early age, like this is a question a lot of people are like forced to do. Like like job की engineering कर ली यार, oh sorry, engineering की फिर job की, अब शादी कर लो और then be set and you know then move on in your life, then like तभी बच्चा set कहा जाता है. Otherwise you know you're not set, you're just still struggling in your life irrespective of how much accomplishments you have. तो वो हर जगह पे treatment मिलता ही है. No one appreciates your success till the point you're married. That's what I felt like. You know, the credibility, I didn't credibility, or you can say like appreciation, I didn't feel that. Like I'm bringing, you know, like not to be against any of them, but मुझे ऐसा लगा कि यार अभी भी बंदा अभी भी struggle कर रहा है, ऐसा लगता है उन्हें. So that is one thing I felt. And other thing that I felt was कि यार they still do not appreciate living relationship. They said कि तुम क्यों नहीं शादी कर रहे, but as compared to asking कि why you both are not getting married, they put the whole decision on me कि मेरे हाथ में ही है. But the idea should be कि यार दोनों के हाथ में है, like you should both get married when both of them are ready. ऐसा नहीं, कोई पूछता नहीं है कि क्या वो करियर में भी प्रोग्रेस कर रही है, शी ऑल्सो वांट टू यू नो डेवलप अ करियर. तो ऐसे क्वेश्चंस नहीं आते, सीधा आते हैं कि आई हैव द राइट टू मेक द डिसीजन, बट इट्स ऑलवेज म्यूचुअल. वो फील नहीं हुआ मुझे. दैट वाज माय कंप्लेंट.
So since then, have things changed? Like, have you gone through a process where they feel a lot more convinced, a lot more sold on the idea of like the two of you being together and the two of you one day potentially getting married as well?
Yeah, I had to actually convince them that marriage should happen when both of them are progressing when both of them are when both of us are ready in a career, because you know career and life partner are one of the most important decisions. So I don't think when both of us are ready in point of a career, if I am, maybe what other person should be, so that's the point I told them I'm waiting for. Once that is sorted, I'll go for it.
Superb, dude. Superb. I love the fact that you're decisive and you have like a clear mind. You're thinking through these things in a very cogent and logical manner, because it's such a big decision. You could probably call this the biggest decision that you'll make in your life, and it ends up affecting like the remaining whatever, like 50-55 years of your life, since the time you get married, assuming you get married sometime in your 20s or 30s. But it's good that you have like clarity from the looks of it, and it's not that you want to rush things. You have a very wise, sagacious head above your shoulders, and so you're taking it one step at a time, as opposed to feeling as if you have to pull the trigger or shying away from making that decision. So you're taking it one step at a time, which is great. And the reason I thought about asking you this question is because my sister recently got married, abhi January mein, to a white guy, and she'd been dating him for about a couple of years. And my mom, she's an orthodox Jain, like as orthodox as one can be. So shuru mein, when she first got wind of the fact that, or when my sister maybe alluded to the fact that she was dating someone not Indian, not Jain, white, it gave like my mama a mini heart attack. And us samay it was very difficult for her to digest this news. And she went through like the 5 stages of grief before she finally accepted the fact that it makes my daughter happy. And if it makes my daughter happy, then I ought to accept it as well. Her happiness is of paramount importance. And she also, I think, understood that she always wanted my sister as well as me to get married to a Jain, like a fellow Jain, because she's so religious. And I totally get that. I understand that. But I think she realized, or maybe me as well as my sister convinced her to some extent, that at the end of the day, you have to judge someone based upon the individual characteristics of that person, as opposed to the characteristics of the group to which that person belongs, like the religious group to which that person belongs. Granted, there could be lots of good Jains, but there could be lots of bad apples as well. So you can't really infer something about a person based upon the group to which he or she belongs. Now, ho sakta hai, maybe she read some headline somewhere कि America में बहुत divorces हो रहे हैं. I'm just giving you an example, like a hypothetical example. Then what will happen is she will now link that to my sister's case where America में बहुत divorces हो रहे हैं, Americans बहुत divorces कर रहे हैं. इसका मतलब मेरा sister का जो boyfriend है या fiance है या husband है, वो American है, that means वो भी divorce करेगा. So we end up
Because
using, I don't know, like sometimes we end up getting too carried away by like some dramatic headline or maybe some anecdote we've heard from some friend, and that's it. We'll end up painting every single person who belongs to that group, say Americans, with the same broad brush, as opposed to looking at the individual characteristics, the individual merits of that person before the ethnicity and before the religious group to which he or she belongs, which are important factors, don't get me wrong. But according to me, I think the individual comes above the group.
श्योर, हम हर चीज पे देखो ना, हमें हमारी नेचर होती है, वी ट्राई टू पुट मैथ एंड साइंस इन एवरीथिंग, एंड वी ट्राई टू पुट प्रोबेबिलिटी इनटू, यू नो, इफ यू गोइंग टू अमेरिका, प्रोबेबिलिटी ऑफ यू गेटिंग डिवोर्स इज लाइक मोर देन 30%. एंड आप भी यही सोचोगे, फैमिलीज भी सोचेंगे, हर चीज में मैथ एंड साइंस डालेंगे. अगर डेटा ये प्रूव करता है, देन आपके साथ भी हो सकता है, एंड यू नो यू शुड नॉट, यू नो, बट वी कैन नॉट लिंक, जैसे आपने जो बुक मेंशन की अबाउट साइकोलॉजी, वी कैन नॉट लुक लिंक एवरीथिंग इनटू प्रोबेबिलिटी. We have to sometimes depict our feelings for the person as well. And I really want to ask you about your opinion too, like, since, you know, since also you also knew that probability is a big thing in America, was that also part of your reason to push your relationships or marriage, if you feel comfortable?
Yeah, dude, it's a very good question, and it's a very thought-provoking question as well. So when I was in America, there were a couple of reasons why I never got into a relationship. Like one was the fact that I was actually shuru mein, like very, very insecure about my body, dude. Like very insecure about my body. And so I just felt I wasn't worthy enough. That's how I felt. My self-esteem was very, very low. It wasn't as high. And so I didn't have the confidence to actually talk to girls, or even if I did talk to them, I didn't have the confidence to take it to the next level. Suppose baatein achhi ho gayi, lekin when you try taking something to the next level, there's some risk involved as well. Who knows, you might end up getting rejected. Who knows, you know, this you've asked her out but she ends up saying no. And I had this very pathetic mentality earlier. I didn't have the growth mindset, I had the fixed mindset. I was like, you know, I'd rather not take the risk which would help me avoid rejection, as opposed to take the risk and potentially face rejection. Although when you do take the risk, like it might come with a reward as well. So I was happy foregoing the reward only because that didn't involve taking risk, or that didn't involve like the risk of rejection. That's how, I guess, sensitive I was, or that's how low my self-esteem and my confidence was. And the second reason being the fact that I was actually very focused in terms of my academics, very focused in terms of my job as well. When I was working at Goldman Sachs, I was just like, you know what, I want to make this my singular focus, like, you know, maintaining my 3.9 GPA, or doing really well on the job when I was at Goldman, and when I was working whatever, like 70, 80, 90 hours on a weekly basis. So those were like the main reason. Then you know, I started working on myself. I came back to India, I changed my field as well. I started working on myself, on my fitness, on my body, which naturally helped me become a lot more confident. It gave me a thicker skin, like my mental fortitude, my tenacity increased as well. And overall, I think my self-esteem went up, which is wonderful. Self-esteem is nothing but the relationship that you have with yourself. You know, if you don't have a good relationship with yourself, I mean, screw having a good relationship with someone else. Or if you don't respect yourself, good luck getting others to respect you. So my self-respect, my self-esteem, all of those things went up as well. And since then, I have dabbled with relationships, but there's just something about relationships. And you could say I'm currently in a relationship right now. Of course, we have like our rocky moments, like as is the case in any relationship. But sometimes I just look for too much clarity. But in a relationship, I think sometimes you just have to let go. Like I talked about going with the flow shuru mein. I don't quite apply that when it comes to relationships. Like, I overthink the fuck out of everything. It's black or white for me. It's black or white. Okay. If I'm in a relationship, I can't be in the present moment. Then ask myself, oh, do I see myself getting married to her? If I don't see myself getting married to her, is it worth being in this relationship? So there are too many questions that I ask. And it's good to be asking yourself those questions. But sometimes you should only allocate like a certain amount of time to worrying, you know, which is something I came across recently, which I loved. It's not that you shouldn't worry, but allocate like a certain amount of time to worrying, as opposed to worrying 24/7. And as a hyper perfectionist, I sometimes want the answers right now. I want like perfect clarity. I want the perfect answers right now. And also, what ends up happening is, because I expect myself to be perfect in so many regards, I project that on my partner as well, where I expect my partner to be perfect in all regards as well. So as soon as I see some flaw, like quote unquote flaw in my partner, I'm going to be like, no, she's not perfect. She's not my type. She's not, yeah, I shouldn't be getting married to her. And then again, that like fucks with my head a lot. And so sometimes I end up microscopically looking at the flaws of the other person while completely overlooking all the good points and all the merits that the other person has. Or it's hard for me to accept the fact that yes, people come with the fair share of flaws, but net, do the good qualities, do the merits outweigh like the flaws or the demerits? So you can't expect every single person to be perfect. In hindsight, look, in a nutshell, I know I've said too much. In a nutshell, I just wish that I had started dating much earlier, in my early 20s, in my mid 20s perhaps, because उस समय वो pressure नहीं होता, सिर पर तलवार नहीं लटकी रहती है कि वो शादी करना है. I'm 30 right now, so I always feel कि यार शादी मुझे कर लेना चाहिए at least within the next couple of years. And so because of that added pressure कि oh, is this girl marriage material, I don't know. It just like ends up like fucking with my headspace oftentimes. In your early 20s, I think dating is a lot more, it's a lot more innocent. You know, you can afford to experiment. You have time on your hand as well. If it doesn't work out, okay, you move on to the next person. But right now I end up taking too much pressure on myself. And who knows, maybe it's just a product of my own mind. It's not because of my partner, it's not because of my mother, it's not because of any external influence that I'm feeling this way. But a product of my own overthinking, hyper perfectionistic take mind.
I can relate so much with what you're saying. In my early days of relationship, I felt all of what you're saying, overthinking and thinking if the person is marriage material or not. But I think I feel lucky, as you said. I wish, as you said, you wish that you should have started dating early. I started dating at the age of 17. But like my grandma still doesn't know that, but but I think this is a good time to reveal. I started dating at the age of 17. I was dating for a couple of years, and I think I felt through all of that. And next time I was pretty sure that I just want to focus on my college, and after my college I will think about dating, because I was like, I know it's a lot of work. You have to deal with emotions, ups and downs so much, because when you're dating, it's not just your emotions, other person's emotions also affect you. And that required lot of audacity, lot of willpower, and that came after college for me. And right the day I graduated, I went on dating apps. At that time, due to COVID, that was the only option. And I got rejected by many girls, 9 10 girls I went on date with, first second dates. Didn't work out, because not because I said no to a single girl, because they said no to me after first or second girl. The only girl who didn't say no, I got to be with her. So I truly agree. But I think I was able to learn the skill to let go, because I think I was in my early 20s, 21 at the time. So I think that was the reason, 21 22 at the time, that I didn't feel कि इतनी सारी चीजें सीखनी है. I did get into like जो आपने कहा flaws, जो we look at the flaws. If there's a whiteboard, if there's a black dot on it, you will look at that black
Yeah,
dot. The same
yeah,
thing happened to me as well.
yeah,
But I was like, let's take it longer. तो जितना आप ज्यादा टाइम स्पेंड करते हो, you see the whole picture more. Because एक और चीज मुझे याद आती है कि इंडिया में कॉन्सेप्ट है that two people getting married is the idea of two families getting together, but in the US it's just two people getting together.
yeah,
So
yeah,
when I
yeah.
was just looking at two people as compared to families, तो मेरे लिए वो ifs and buts कम हो गए.
समझ गया. Yeah, dude. It's it's good to know that there are other people in the same boat as well, or other people have gone through something similar as well. It's not that it solves your problems, but the fact that other people, oh, I mean, the simple reason being the fact that misery loves company, like they say. Earlier I used to feel as if, oh, like all of this overthinking, all of this turmoil and turbulence that I experience in my head, this is just me. Like it's only me who experiences this. The others seem so happy, or the others, don't over complicate things unnecessarily. But the more I've actually spoken with cousins of mine, friends of mine, hearing this from you as well, the more I've begun to realize that no, it's something that every single person goes through, or most people definitely go through. And I'm not unique or alone in my suffering. Like I have others to give me company as well. So that makes me feel somewhat better.
One big factor that is exacerbating this effect, it's making
Yeah.
it much worse, is social media. हम social media पे जाते हैं, like we are actually slave to it. Like whenever a notification comes, we look at it. So phone is controlling us. So I think I found the solution at an early age, like putting it on DND. I never attend any calls, never text messages. I look at my phone. If I see a call which is important, I call back, friends, family, because I don't want to be slave to the technology. I think, if I check my phone for notifications, and when notifications come, I check it, as compared to when I want to actually look at a notification. I think that phone is slave to me as compared to I being slave to it.
Yeah.
Because whenever notification comes from Instagram, or all the way, it makes me compare that, oh, how can this person post more videos? How can this person post more reels? How can this person bake better than me? How can this person be, like better in one particular thing? And I also want to be do that. I also want to become like that. So, ये सारी चीजें हर दौर पे आती हैं, and I really hate that. Does that happen to you too?
Yeah. 100%, 100%. Especially if you're a competitive person. There's this quote from James Clear only. I think उसके newsletter में कहीं लिखा था. You talked about comparison and how sometimes comparison like fucks with you. He said comparison, beautifully put. He said comparison is the thief of joy when looked at narrowly, but it's actually the teacher of skills when looked at broadly. Because because you can look at someone and be like, oh, he or she's doing this much better than I am, or he or she is able to accomplish this, or look, he or she was able to go through such a radical fitness transformation. Like I'm pretty sure I can do something similar as well by replicating this person, or just seeking inspiration from that person. And granted, in order for you to be doing anything on a sustainable basis, like that inspiration or that motivation has to be intrinsic for the most part. You can't just simply rely upon extrinsic motivation ki isne ye kiya, main bhi ye karunga. That could work sometimes, when you might be running low on intrinsic motivation. Yes, that's when you resort to extrinsic motivation to to pick yourself up. But then for the most part, it has to be intrinsic motivation. But you're absolutely right. I think for competitive people, you will unnecessarily look at others. People, especially on social media, right? People will just post like their happy times or their pleasant times, and as opposed to showing their dirty laundry. एक लाइन है जो आई थिंक इंस्टाग्राम को बहुत अच्छे से डिस्क्राइब करती है, which is glossy surfaces or shiny surfaces, they reflect more than they reveal.
ये कहाँ से मिली आपको लाइन? This is
I don't know,
so
कहीं मैं पढ़ा था, कहीं came across it, but I instantly thought they weren't, whoever wrote this line wasn't talking about Instagram, but I instantly thought कि, social media, especially Instagram, I mean, this line beautifully describes that. Glossy surfaces reflect more than they reveal.
100%. Like if you look at the business model of Instagram, it's forcing their creators to make reels every single month. But YouTube is like, आप एक बार डाल के छोड़ दो, आपको revenue पुरानी reels का, पुरानी shorts का भी आता जाएगा. But Instagram is actually making you make reels from day zero of the month, because you get nothing if you don't make reels, and
Yeah.
which is leading to burnout in so many people. And you compare, you see, oh, this person got so many views and he's making more money.
Yeah.
Like it's so demotivating.
Bro, going back to the how things evolved between you and Katie as well as with your family. Now, of course, like from the looks of it, like things seem nice, stable. You have a lot more clarity. You have a clear mind right now. But was there any stage shuru mein, when you thought to yourself, what if there's someone better out there? What if there's someone better out there? That's a question that a lot of people are constantly plagued by or assailed by. So how did you tackle that thought that might have kept coming to your mind?
That is a wonderful question. In the beginning of my relationship, like that was the comment section. So
those
not to
fuckers,
not to
those
be
fuckers in the comment section,
yeah, no matter who you date, they will try to look at that black dot in the whole whiteboard as
Yeah.
well. But you as a person need to know that, like, ki 10 अच्छी qualities दिख रही है, you pursue them. I think I got lucky once again. I could compare through my previous, relationships, keh lo, ya fir you can just compare it with my previous experiences. I always wanted to see the soul of the person as compared to, the cover of the book. So
Hmm. Hmm.
I, when I was just looking at the soul of the person, I could feel like the connection I could feel, and the relatability I could feel, and also the things which are different. Because like at the same time, you're not dating the person who is 100% like you. They could have different things to watch, different sports to uh, play, different like different career options. We're like completely different in many
Yeah.
cases, but at
Yeah.
the same time, like the picky things that I really enjoy doing, which I can do with the person, like
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
all of them, but like few things that make those moments so memorable that I couldn't let that go. I couldn't let that person go. So I was
Yeah.
like, yahi mujhe few things, जैसे कि at the time I can give an example. Monday to Friday I wasn't with her. Saturday Sunday वो जो चीजें करके मजा आता था, to be exact, it could be going out for dinner, it could be watching movies, it could be going for dance. Like these all few things we can do together. Like I was always looking forward to that weekend.
Makes
So
sense.
yeah, and my still my rule is like कि Monday to Friday I'm just my like software engineer, YouTuber, and like जो भी daily काम करना होता है career focus Monday to Friday, and Saturday Sunday fully attention on relationship and hanging out with friends and with her. Like जो जो चीजें पसंद है वो जरूर करना every single week. So this routine perfectly matched, because पुरानी relationship में मेरे साथ क्या था, that I was in 17, तो एक bad routine बन गया था कि यार हर हर दूसरे मोमेंट में मिलना है. तो I felt like it is a lot of big, it's a big time waste. It depends on how you lay out the expectations. एक बार आपने expectations बना दी और वो इतनी स्ट्रांग बन जाती है, बाद में रियलाइज करते हो कि वो गलत थी. तो मेरे पहले से ही पता था कि एक्सपेक्टेशन इतनी ही बनानी है, एंड आई कुड कंटिन्यू दैट, सो इट हेल्प मी आउट.
Katie, are you listening right now? If that doesn't get you to put a ring on this man, I don't know what will. But
This is the moment I'm going to take it for my proposal.
do so, do so. Uh, Talking about the comment section, or just talking about people commenting on your relationships, looking in from the outside, I think no one apart from the two people in the relationship know exactly what needs the other person is fulfilling, or what the relationship is like. Because I think, of course, like, I'm not saying people should not be giving you comments, especially if they're coming from loved ones like your family, right? Because it's well intentioned, मतलब तुम्हारे भले के लिए ही बोल रहे हैं जो भी बोल रहे हैं. But I truly believe that no one knows the ins and outs and the intricacies of your relationship or the dynamic between you and your partner the way you and your partner know them. And so always take others' opinions, others' comments, others' whatever judgments with a grain of salt. Because किसी और का relationship experience can never be exactly the same as yours. And it's only you and your partner who know what needs are being fulfilled. And this is something I did a therapy session also. इतना मेरा ये भेजा फ्राई हो रहा था. So my therapist told me, you constantly look at like the flaws in the other person, but what are your primary needs? What are your primary needs from this relationship? Are those primary needs of yours being fulfilled? If they are, that's fine. Then just make peace with the fact that, okay, those secondary and tertiary things that you want to be perfect as well. Just make peace with the fact that, okay, you can't win every single battle. As long as you're winning enough battles that you're winning the war, because a war is like a summation of many battles, it's fine. As opposed to trying to win every single battle, which is just going to be exhausting for you. And like I said, no one knows your relationship as well as you do.
That's a wonderful point you mentioned, and since you mentioned therapy, I would come to that later, because I have also been through it. I would love to discuss that as well. But yeah, that skill you mentioned, that in part of the war, like आपको एक part of war अगर आप अगर so the battle you mentioned,
हाँ.
there are like few pieces. If you are able to win in those parts, तो बाकी इतना matter नहीं करता, because like when you think about the battle, कई बार होता है 10,000 people are able to beat 100,000 as well, just because of those strong points, and strong
Yeah, yeah.
points meet that's all it takes. And coming to the therapy, like I personally still think that majority of the reasons I go through therapy, or I feel like getting through therapy, is being over competitive. Like आपने अभी mention किया that you try to be competitive, you try to be the best version, and you went through a completely different career, like from uh, Goldman Sachs to becoming an anchor, is
Yeah,
to be
yeah.
exact, right?
Mhm.
So you must have gone through varies of emotions. How did you manage those?
Bro, I still sometimes doubt what I'm doing. Sometimes I'm like, oh, what am I doing in life? But I don't know. It might sound like a very cheesy answer, but I definitely knew that investment banking wasn't for me. Like I knew that it wasn't for me because yes, the highs were high, but the net the lows were much lower than the highs were high. That's how I sum it up. I may have mentioned this on your podcast as well when I'd come a couple of years ago. So I definitely knew that wasn't for me. Now it just so happened visa was sab mila nahi. I came back to India, and that's when I thought it might be an opportune time for me to shift to something totally different, something that aligns more with my interests and my skills. And so I just identified sports anchoring as being like the best fit for me at that time, at least, because I was like, it's going to combine my communication skills with my biggest interest in sports. And so it was a good marriage between my primary strength and my primary interest. And so I thought this profession will combine that beautifully. And since then, it's not been too long, Vese, because think about it, right? Like I it was in my mid to late 20s when I decided to make this drastic pivot, which is something that a lot of people don't end up doing. And so I had to start from scratch. And even now, I'm still earning a fraction of what I was earning when I was working at Goldman, when I was doing investment banking. But what I do, and currently I'm working as a freelancer. So it's not that I feel this way every single day. I feel this way only when I'm doing projects. But whenever I'm engaged in a project, like recently I went to Bangladesh to cover the India versus Bangladesh series. And I spent a month in Bangladesh, 27 days in Bangladesh doing presenting work there. We were working every single day without fail, barring maybe 1 or 2 days in a 27-day period. We worked every single day. Our shoots used to start around like 7 o'clock in the morning, and they used to finish in the evening at night. It was suffering. It was difficult, but it was meaningful suffering, dude. It was divine. The kind of suffering where you're done with your day, you come back, you're sitting on your couch, you're spent, you're gelatinous with fatigue, but you're like, you know what? I enjoyed it because I gave it my bloody best out there. And I can now, whatever, like go back to sleep or go off to sleep right now, knowing that I put everything that I had. Like I gave it everything that I had. And so it makes me feel alive. It just makes me feel alive when I'm talking about sports, especially in a conversational type of manner, or if I'm interviewing an athlete. Like when I get a chance to delve into the psyche of an athlete, I enjoy it. And so going back to your question, it's not that I feel $1 million every single day. There are times when I feel, okay, is this for me? Should I go back to a corporate role maybe where I have like more stability? Nassim Nicholas Taleb says the three most addictive things in the world are heroin, carbohydrates, and a monthly paycheck. So, so when you're working as a freelancer and when you don't have that bi-weekly or that monthly paycheck, कभी कभी वो insecurity आ जाती है. भले ही तुम्हारे पास savings है, लेकिन ऐसा लगता है यार, पैसा नहीं आया, project नहीं मिला है. But I don't know, like मेरे साथ at least जो हुआ है, you could call it fate. Whenever I might be feeling thoda down and out, and I'm like questioning whether I should be continuing this, there's something or the other that comes my way, some good opportunity that comes my way. And more often than not, I end up knocking that opportunity out of the park, or I do really well. And that again fills me with that self-belief that no, this is where I belong. This is where I belong. And with regard to comparison, we talked about that. I'm like, yaar, मेरे काफी दोस्त है जो Goldman Sachs में थे, associates बन गए, कोई vice presidents बन गए. People are happily married, settled because they have like a stable job, a stable income. I tell myself, I'd like to believe, hopefully, I'm not a delusional fuck, but I like to believe that there's a job that you're doing. After a job comes a career, and after a career comes a calling. So some people who might be doing a job, or say they might be doing a career, right? Something that they don't enjoy all that much, but theek hai, they're happy with it. And no judging them, like they're happy with it. I feel unka progression thoda linear type ka hota hai, aise hota hai. Lekin I feel if you have found your calling, or you are definitely, or have not found your calling, but you are working towards that calling of yours, and you believe that, yeah, like I am getting there slowly but surely, one step at a time, then ho sakta hai you might be starting out here, idhar, you've taken a few steps back in the short term, you might be right here whereas others have progressed. But I think तुम्हारी जो growth होती है, जिस तेज रफ्तार से तुम बढ़ते हो, that is exponential growth. And I think that comes a point, the inflection point, where the exponential growth passes the linear growth. So that's what I like to believe. जैसे कहते हैं ना, it takes 10 years to become an overnight success. तो 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 I don't know, I just get a feeling from inside कि अच्छा, I am moving towards my calling, and it's only a matter of time before maybe I explode. It's going to take time, but I have to be impatient when it comes to actions, but patient when it comes to results.
What a mindset, yaar. This is the mindset it needs when you start from zero, when you start from scratch. I sometimes feel कि यार मैं zero से start कर रहा हूँ, because like creative industry is so involving. मैं 10 ideas अपने videos के खत्म करके मैं सोचता हूँ 11वां idea चलेगा कि नहीं चलेगा. I need to reinvent, I need to make something else, कुछ और content बनाना जो चलेगा और मजा भी आएगा. And इसके कारण, like, you know, I had to experiment, and it's lot of things you have to try, because जो आपको चीजें लगती है कि ये content चलेगा, आप बना के खत्म कर देते हो. You have to re-explore, reinvent, and that's what I feel too. But you just have to go, and each type of content में वो भी जो आप कहते हो ना exponential, वो आएगा. And that's what you have to wait for. That this shows how much more patience you have.
But bro, you said something very very beautiful, very very beautiful, because look, you have a massive following now. You have a massive following, 1 million on YouTube, you've got like 125k on Instagram, maybe other platforms as well. You've got a massive following. And so what happens is sometimes, and I can't speak about this from experience, but I've seen clips of other creators who talk about this problem. What happens is when you have a massive following, then sometimes you end up taking less risk. क्योंकि you feel कि यार, there's a lot at stake right now, or my audience expects a certain type of content from me, and I have to always pacify them or create content that appeals to them, that they've been liking so far, as a result of which you might be a bit hesitant to experiment with new type of content. Because what if this massive audience that have built up all of a sudden says, what's happened to Harnoor, what's happened to Singh in USA, like this is not what I signed up for, let me just like unsubscribe. So there's a massive risk that's associated with experimenting with new things, because what if like those new things end up failing? You can play it safe by continuing to do what you've been doing so far, and maybe it ends up working. But if you want that big jump, like sometimes you have to experiment with something novel. And the only reason I'm saying this right now is because kal raat ko hi main clip dekh raha tha Tim Dillon ki. Tim Dillon is a comedian, I'm not sure if you've heard of him, but he's one of the funniest guys I know of. But he's very smart as well. Like these comedians, they're actually very wise people who are masquerading as jokers. तो उसमें वो बोल रहा था कि sometimes fear prevents you from being like the best version of yourself. And he talked about his experience as well as a comedian, as a podcaster, where he initially was afraid to try out new things only because he felt that, oh, what if the audience doesn't quite like this? But he said, no, I have to take that risk, because there's a chance that that risk ends up paying that reward as well. Like no risk, no reward, as the cliche goes. Yes. So would love to know from you, how do you balance that? Ki, acha, I have this existing audience that I'm answerable to, a lot of people who watch a certain type of content, but I still want to continue reinventing myself, although there is a risk that's associated with reinventing myself.
Sure. To describe my content in just 5 words, it's software engineering videos, like day in life, and there is tours of Amazon, Facebook, kahin pe bhi chale jao, tours. And next could be vlogs about me, Nani, life, etc. And last could be things I want to teach and share. Or the things that I want to teach and share, it is completely variable. For example, if I talk about, let's say, US-Mexico border issue, which I thought it might not work out, completely different information there. Okay, why Indians cross US-Mexico border? It jumped up. Like it got a lot of views. And at the same time, I talk about, let's say, Chat GPT. It might not get that many views. Like people will be like, we know already what you're teaching is not relevant to us. Like how to make Android app with Chat GPT. There might be less market for that at the time. So I always try to play safe as well and take risk as well. So I think the 5th or the 4th one, which I talked about, has the majority of the risk. But 3 are stable in my in my viewership, people always love to watch if I make some variation of these three kind of content,
Okay.
because I know that's what they came for, that's what they hit the subscribe button for. So to come up with creative these three things, so I try to balance them. If I'm trying to keep giving out the experimental knowledge, like I call it the experimentation stage, मतलब कुछ भी
Okay.
जो भी सीख रहा
Mm,
हूँ वो सिखा रहा हूँ, right? And if I keep making that, I think I'll lose my subscribers, because there's some information they will like, they will not like, and these things are the stable which keeps my viewers. So I try to balance these. One video risky ho gaya, three like stable
I
about,
see.
like so balance is the way it helps me being creative at the same time and to be stable at the same time.
I
And it is
see.
not always easy, but I have to push myself to try all four.
Makes sense. So there is risk that you're taking, but at the same time, you are hedging yourself as well to some extent with that balance. And what does your creative process look like, Harnoor? Like, do you typically sit down like once a week or a few times a week, where you're in solitude when you think about ideas? You were saying कि अच्छा मेरे पास 10 video के ideas है. So how do you brainstorm those? Do you end up having like aha moments when you're in the shower, and then you simply note it down? Like, do you have like a particular rigid, not rigid, but a structured creative process that you follow?
Yes. So I think I get majority of my ideas when I'm meditating. I've started to meditate every day, and meditate karte waqt, like when I'm like clear stage, like randomly one thought came, oh, I can think more about it. Oh, I can try this. So majority of the times ideas come when I'm not doing anything. So I try to constantly take breaks. That's why I try to, like, three videos bana diya. I just want to make them, publish them immediately, so that I don't think about them, because those are the things I've already done. I want to think
Ah,
about new things. So I
ah,
just try to quickly publish them and like take a break. Like it could be a vacation, going out for lunch, and every single time and talk to students. I live like still 5-10 minutes away from Georgia Tech.
ah, ah.
Majority of the ideas come from there. Talking to GSU, Georgia Tech, Stanford, MIT, all the students I talked to, they gave me brilliant ideas.
So it's so funny. You said ki a lot of your ideas come while you're meditating. Now I have never been, so I have dabbled with meditation for a long time, more unsuccessfully than successfully. And I'll tell you about my experience when it comes to meditation. It's similar to yours. It's similar to yours. You know how meditation, where they say, okay, you should focus on an anchor. That anchor could be your breath, or it could be the contact that your body is making with the surface on which you're lying down or sitting down. So focus on that. Like, as soon as thoughts come, it's fine. You can just, like, put them aside for the time being and focus on your breath. Now my argument against that is the fact that sometimes, for me, just like it is the case for you, when I might be meditating, right, in this traditional way, like trying to focus on my breath, I have some great ideas that come to my mind. Say for instance, okay, this didn't happen this morning, but let's just say I meditated in the morning before recording this podcast. I swear there would have been beautiful ideas in terms of discussion points, conversation topics that would have come to my mind. Oh, Harnoor se ye pooch sakta ho, ye pooch sakta ho. Oh, this is going to be a good conversation topic. And then I wonder, if I am actually feeling creative while I'm meditating, all of these good ideas are coming to my mind. Why should I go back to focusing on my breath? Like, wouldn't going back to focusing on my breath mean stifling those ideas? But if I'm having good creative ideas, why don't I give them full reign, as opposed to trying to tame them or domesticate them or stifle them or put them aside? So that's why I've never been able to understand, what am I supposed to do during a meditation. Now, some people might tell me, oh, do whatever works for you. Meditation is different for different people. It's very subjective. So I don't know, yeah. As in, I'm turning something small. I'm blowing this out of proportion or overthinking it. But since you also get these big ideas during meditation, like, what is your meditative process?
Sure. So I'm going to break it down into 10 minutes of my meditation session. So 5 minutes is just thinking what's happening around me. So like I close my eyes and see, oh, in terms of my YouTube career, this video worked out. Like, thank God for that. Like, just keep thanking, and like just like making every thought positive. Like a
Okay.
single negative thought can, affect your mind. So that is one part of my process. Other part is, like, once all the thoughts come, I quickly, as compared to like let go, don't think about it, instead of stopping my mind, I try to like convert them into positive. And let's say I'm thinking about, I worked on a video on Tesla, it worked out, oh, I can do this as well. Quickly take out my phone, note it, okay, this thought is done. Next thought, done. When all thoughts are done, then I focus on my breath. So I try to keep it long. There's no rush. I don't try
Okay.
to restrict it to 5 minute meditation, like 5 minute on breath. I try to like think about all the thoughts in my mind, whatever happening in my mind, because when I convert every single thought in my mind to something positive,
Yeah.
you don't overthink about it. Like, you just let go that, oh, I am accepting this is what it is, and let's move on to breath. Like, that's what I do.
Oh, so typically, like, what's the duration of your meditation sessions?
Sure. So I personally first set a 2 minute rule. I make a timer for 2 minutes that I'm not gonna meditate for 2 minutes, because that is the time I just focus on my breath. So two
Okay.
minutes just breath, and 2 minutes because of the book, like
Yeah.
just to maintain the habit. Kabhi kabhi 2 minute time hoga, kabhi 2 minutes se zyada hoga. So if it's
Ha,
just two
ha.
minutes, 2 minutes focus on breath. Let's just do something else. And if I have time, then I'll just, okay, let's go on. Let's calm my mind more. Then like listen to my mind even more. So depends on how much time I have. But 2 minute rule for everything I do is for sure there.
Yeah. So you've made it too small to fail. Too
True.
small to fail. किसी की एक कोई बुक थी यार, मुझे समझ में नहीं याद नहीं आ रहा नाम क्या है, बट इट वाज अ बुक ऑन परफेक्शनिज्म. जो लोग परफेक्शनिस्ट होते हैं उनको और सॉरी, इट वाज अ बुक ऑन हैबिट्स. इट वाज अ बुक ऑन हैबिट्स, not atomic habits, but a different book on habits. And this guy wrote, whenever you want to maintain like whenever you're going through like a habit tracker or something and you want to maintain like a perfect record, he says make it too small to fail. Like जैसे you said, sometimes even if I don't feel like going to the gym, I'll just go there for a couple of minutes. At least I can tell myself I went to the gym. And more often than not, once you're there, you automatically feel like working out. And so with meditation as well, you don't try and bite off more than you can chew by telling yourself, oh, I have to meditate for 30 minutes every single day, because then it's going to be way too big for you to carry out on a daily basis. But if you allow yourself to simply do so for 2 minutes, even that counts as like you having showed up at least on that particular day. I think being able to interpret small failures as a success is a super skill. Like, instead of, like, say for instance, you could have failed big, but instead you chose to fail small. So looking at like a small failure as a success, as opposed to having failed in a big way, I think that also gives you like happiness, makes you feel
Positivity.
better. Yeah, exactly. You've interpreted that as a positive. Oh, it's a small failure. It could have been much worse. It could have been a much bigger failure.
Absolutely. Like, imagine you making a habit tracker, which I've never done. If I every day do 30-minute meditation, oh no, I didn't do it. 30
Yeah.
minutes workout, oh no, I didn't do it. And the
Yeah.
worst person, why why I even made this New Year resolution
Yeah.
or habit? Like,
Yeah.
you criticize yourself when you see this data, but as
Yeah.
compared to, like, you wonderfully interpreted and laid it out that yes, I make failure too small to to feel sad about. I make it too small that I feel happy about instead.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think the more rules that you have for yourself, the higher the chances you'll end up breaking one or more rules that you set out for yourself. And again, as someone who's competitive, someone who's driven, someone who's a perfectionist, you end up expecting you to be like a superhero. Like, you expect yourself to be Hercules, like end up doing everything that's not even humanly possible. And जैसे हो सकता है, you set out to do 10 things, हो सकता है 9 तुमने खत्म कर ली, एक नहीं खत्म हुआ, that's it, you feel as if, oh, I failed. So, so yeah, like changing your mindset, changing how you look at these things, and again, like not having rules that are insurmountable, that are so difficult to complete that it's causing you agony on a daily basis. That's something that I'm trying to change as well. A lot of what I say is me simply paying lip service to all of this. I don't necessarily do as I say, but at least awareness to aa gayi hai. And I think awareness is like the precursor to change. You're aware of what your pitfalls are, and once you're aware of them, then you can start making amends, and then you can start rectifying some of those areas that need some rectification.
Absolutely, but at the same time, like, you cannot make an expectation that ये सारे rules follow करने के बाद, even though they're too small, you will never feel unhappy. You will not never feel depressed, never
Ah,
feel anxious.
ah,
वो फिर भी होता है. For example, a simple thing like, I forget to call my nani. Like, she's sensitive. She wants me to call her twice a day. गलती से एक बार भूल गया तो दुख होता है. So
ah.
these failures still happen. How do you manage? First, can you please share, and then I'll add on.
Dude, I'm horrible. I'm absolutely horrible when it comes to reacting to setbacks. Like, I was I've become a lot better now. I've become a lot better. Like shuru mein to I would simply for a day, a couple of days, 3 days, I would simply reflect. I would journal what went wrong, how can I rectify this. But that would end up causing even more pain, because I'm just like sitting down and just I'm just with my negative thoughts, or I would just beat myself up. Like, how did you do it? You're an idiot. Vapis is same mistake. Like, how do you not learn from your mistakes? How do you keep falling prey to the same mistakes all the time? So I used to completely beat myself up. And when you beat yourself up, it makes matters much worse. It makes matters much worse. And so I've become better now, but I'm far from perfect, dude. Far from perfect. A few things that help me. Number one, I think I've improved my relationship with myself. And one of the ways in which I've improved my relationship with myself is that suppose I ended up screwing up, or I ended up doing something that didn't quite work out, or I regretted. I ask myself, Anubhav, was your intention to screw up? It wasn't your intention to screw up. है ना? Like, it's not that I'm intentionally trying to cause myself harm, or intentionally trying to like dig a hole for myself or dig my own grave. ठीक है, हो गया. उस समय maybe I may have been emotional, or maybe I got carried away, as a result of which, fine, I found myself in this hole right now. So don't blame yourself. Maybe your headspace wasn't quite right when you ended up doing that. It's fine. So that's something I remind myself of. Was your intention to actually cause yourself harm? Then it wasn't, right? ठीक है, हो गया. Move on with it. The second thing that helps is, instead of just sitting down and brooding and reflecting for like 1, 2, 3, 4 days, these days I've become better at compartmentalizing, like thinking, okay, you know what? Fine. I know I need to process this. I'll put this aside for the time being. Let me just immerse myself in work right now. Or let me just like whatever, like record this podcast, or do this assignment that I'm supposed to be completing. And more often than not, as soon as you take action, that anxiety just like disappears. That anxiety disappears. Or maybe temporarily you feel much better about yourself because you've created something, you've produced something, and then you're in a much better headspace. Working out, of course, that helps. That's like a very common one that people end up using. Food earlier used to be a pick me up for me, and I'm not proud about that. I used to eat emotionally, because food gives you like an instant high. The thing with working out is, like, when you're working out, you have to put in the hard yards as well. Like, you have to pay a price for you to get the pleasure. And आधी घंटा 45 minutes करना पड़ता है, उसके बाद you get that feel good factor, that the endorphins, that dopamine high. Food के साथ क्या है, you can easily, तुम बस कुछ brownie उठाओ, कुछ pizza उठाओ, instantly तुमको dopamine hit मिल जाएगा. It's cheap dopamine. But what happens is, ठीक है, उस समय तुमको dopamine hit मिल गया, but then when you wake up the following morning, or maybe a couple of hours later, when you're back to your senses, you're like, why did I end up doing that? So it's like a Ferris wheel. So it takes you up there, but that high is followed by an equally steep and inevitable crash as well that follows, like a Ferris wheel.
Negative.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Lekin kabhi you can't help it. Like kabhi you feel so overwhelmed or emotional that you feel possessed. It's like your reptilian brain, or your animal brain, or your emotional brain that takes over. And so you don't make decisions based upon your prefrontal cortex, or based upon like the rational center of your brain. You're making emotional decisions. You end up getting carried away. I've become better now. Like, sometimes I tell myself, okay, Anubhav, treat yourself, but try doing so in moderation, as opposed to feeling, oh, this is like the last pizza, or the last brownie or dessert that I'm going to be having. So I think those are some of the ways, but overall, I think it stems from being less hard on myself. Like, when I'm less hard on myself, or when I can sympathize with myself, or treat myself like a friend that I'm responsible for helping, I think that helps put things into perspective. What about you?
First of all, I can relate completely with you. I was in the similar phase when I was like, trying to impress a girl. जब मुझसे लड़कियां पटती नहीं थी, जो मैंने आपको 10 dates failure बताए before finding the one. Like, at the time, I was getting into the journey of like getting six-pack abs, at the same time getting bigger. Like, both, I was trying to be like calorie deficient bhi hona, and I want to be bigger too. And at that time, I was going through varies of emotion. रात को नींद नहीं आती है. I'm hungry. I was pushing my emotions. Like, जो pizza मैं खाना चाहता हूँ, I cannot. The cookies, my favorite cookies are in my house, but I cannot eat. वो जो push करना, it backfire. Like, like the things you want to do, it actually made it negative कि यार मैं कर ही नहीं पा रहा, अपने आप को रोज दुखी फील करता हूँ यार, 2 दिन और फिर जब abs आएंगे, then I'll be able to eat that cookie. Like same thing like that used to happen. It's a little bit different, but yeah, emotions were same for me, just like you feel. एक दिन cookie खा लेना, एक बार like you feel happy and you feel negative. But to tackle it, I've figured out that I still have a big belly, not big belly, like small belly. Like I don't have abs, like maybe like body fat percentage of around 15-16% with no abs visible. But I feel happier when I am at that stage. Like
Yeah.
six pack abs say, like in terms of my happiness throughout the day, and if I maintain this body fat level, I feel happier. So एक ये factor है. And now next part about the anxiety and the competition you feel, how I deal with it, uska answer hoga ki I struggle as well. I feel burned out ek din, like if I am empty, like in this creative industry, agar long weekend chal raha hai, I don't have office work, 3 दिन मैं सोचता हूँ मैंने पहले 2 दिन वीडियोस बना ली, थर्ड डे क्या करूँ, like if I have nothing to do, no ideas, I feel depressed. यार अब खत्म सिंगिंग जैसे खत्म, like I have no ideas. So it does feel, but for that, first thing I do, even meditation sometimes doesn't work in this scenario. I go out with my friends, talk to them, like it's like free therapy. I can get to do that. This weekend was the long weekend for me, and I actually hung out with all of my friends, went for 3 lunches, 2 dinners these 3 days, and by discussing my emotions and listening to their emotions, I feel the happiest version of myself. Yeah, in the morning I was feeling depressed, but ye jo break the I gave myself break that helped me sleep better. I was not able to sleep. Like I sleep, I try to sleep at 1 a.m. I cannot sleep till 3 a.m. And then even in the middle I feel like it's over. I wake up, and when I'm bored, this is what happens when I'm burned out. Like this is what social media pushes you to, like, keep making content, keep making. The solution is that I have to take breaks and be grateful for what I have, rather than just thinking about reaching the sky. So I just have to take breaks, otherwise I'll go crazy.
And this is a harsh reality that I've come to accept as well. Shuru mein, as a productivity junkie, or as someone who felt that I have to be working during a majority of my waking hours, I always considered talking to friends or going out for dinners as recreational activities that are distractions, that are taking time away from what I should be doing, which is my work, be it my professional endeavors or my creative endeavors. But I've come to realize that doing work does not make me happy. Maybe it does. Maybe it does to some extent. But on the other hand, when I'm happy, I do my best work. And when am I happy? I'm happiest, especially as someone who's an extrovert, who derives energy from people, from talking to people. I'm happiest when I'm actually spending time with people, talking to people, either physically or virtually. That's when I'm happiest. And so now, instead of actually looking at maybe 2 hours that I spent, let's just say, having dinner with someone, as a waste of time, which I used to call it earlier, and then feel guilty about it, that I could have spent those 2 hours, I don't know, like doing something else, like reading a book or something. I now look at that as a time investment that's very necessary for me to recharge my batteries, feel better about myself, such that when I come back to my desk when I'm doing work, I can work with this energy, with this enthusiasm, with this gusto, and with happiness, which, as I said, is when I do my best work, as opposed to driving myself absolutely insane.
Totally agree. I remember when you said you worked at Goldman Sachs for like 10, 12 hours, there was no work life balance, like just work. And same with me, it happens like in the creative industry. When you start working, you achieve something, then you aim for something more. Then you achieve that, okay, wait, let me repeat that. You achieve something, then you aim for something more. And that keeps on having at a loop. Then at the end, even if you do not achieve the top of that Mount Everest, even if you're like 1 inch away, you still feel like that you're the worst version of yourself. ये हर बार होता है, and you just have to take breaks. Otherwise, like आपको लगता है कि happiness आपके work में नहीं है. Like even though I truly agree that like our work is fun at times, but there is a limit to that. Like I agree to you as well. I enjoy more when I'm at dinners, vacations. But जब आप work अपने 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 when you make your work a worship, you forget that. And you have to
Yeah,
constantly
yeah.
remind yourself कि हाँ, इससे भी बड़ी खुशियां हैं.
या अरे रिसेंटली मैं किताब पढ़ा था, कोचिंग बियॉन्ड बुक का नाम है. इट्स बाय द फॉर्मर फील्डिंग कोच ऑफ टीम इंडिया, where he talks about his experience having worked as the fielding coach for Team India for 7 years. Now he's no longer the fielding coach. So he's just talking about ड्रेसिंग रूम में क्या क्या होता था, बिहाइंड द सीन्स क्या क्या होता था, विराट कोहली के साथ बातें. He describes characters like Virat Kohli, MS Dhoni, like what they're made of, what makes them different. So there was this one chapter where he's talking about MS Dhoni. And MS Dhoni, he said, the one thing that I really learned from MS Dhoni, and which all the boys learned from MS Dhoni, is MS Dhoni was a big believer in detached attachment. So detached attachment is where you are attached to something, but you're attached to something in a detached manner. If you're too attached to something, if you're overly attached to something, then that one thing, you give that one thing the power to completely dictate your happiness, your sadness, your mood at all times. And so MS Dhoni says every now and then it's good to take a step back. Like you should want things, but don't want things too desperately, where the thing ends up completely dictating your life and your mood. And so he says detached attachment, where you're attached, but every now and then you're taking a step back, you're detaching yourself from it, looking at the bigger picture.
As an analogy, I would mention that's a wonderful lesson that you're sharing. As an analogy, I can say is I try to practice the same as the rule of dependency. Like, agar hamara partner hai, let's say, it could be my grandmother, my girlfriend, my friend, we have to take that relationship as a dependency factor कि हमें mind में रखना चाहिए that we should not be dependent on them in any way. Like, yeah, you in terms of it could be in terms of happiness. यार ऐसा feel नहीं होना चाहिए if they are like out of our life, then we can never be happy. Like वो factor नहीं होना चाहिए. And to have that feeling of like attachment as well as the feeling of like detached from it, it comes when you don't give your 100% times towards it. For example, अगर मैं अपनी job, जैसे you were at Goldman, I am at Microsoft, if I just give my 100% every day, try to be 120% version of myself, and just think that यार ये job है तो मैं खुश हूँ, नहीं तो I am nothing. If I make that feeling, then वो detachment कभी आएगी ही नहीं. I have to stop at that 100%. मैंने अपना 100% दे दिया. I am gonna stop it. I should have a life beyond work as well, whether it's YouTube, like over that as well. I think enough content, I have to take a setback. हर चीज से you have to think अगर ये restart भी करना पड़ता है, whether it's YouTube for me, whether it's Microsoft, I can, because I have the skills to, even if that's the girl, even if it's like a relationship, like if you are fit, if you are ready enough, you can restart at any point of time. जब आप ये सोचते हो, वो detachment and attachment साथ में बन जाता है.
And when you have, as you said, when you have like a life outside of work, you have an identity also that's not your work identity. Otherwise, if Harnoor Singh or Anubhav Jain is simply Harnoor Singh, the corporate guy, or Anubhav Jain, the anchor, then your job description becomes your self description. But I think we're so much more than just a job description. So why limit ourselves to a job description? And what you said right now is a beautiful case in point, because this week my maid has not come, my domestic help has not come. So shuru mein, bro, the first couple of days I was like, yaar, I was cursing her. I was like, I nahi, this, that. She didn't tell me she's not going to be coming. And then I was thinking the other day, I don't want to reach a state of dependency on anyone, not just my maid, anyone, where my life completely falls apart if that person goes missing all of a sudden. Like in every single aspect of my life, I want to be in such a state where, okay, fine, it's good to have dependency. It's okay to have dependency, but it's not that, that person going missing completely shatters me to the point where, it's caused irreparable damage. So a real life example that I thought of when you describe that beautiful point.
I definitely agree. Kuch unexpected dependency you are addicted to, you may lose at any point. Gussa aata hai. Like you feel like, क्यों ऐसा हुआ? But you have to just prepare yourself कि हाँ ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए. That my soul is still apart with, my soul is still with me, so I am complete in myself. वो feeling आती है ना, अगर आप वो feeling लेते हो, then everything is complete for you.
Yeah, yeah. You're Harnoor, so you're like a technical guy. You're a technical whiz kid. I might be an engineer by degree, but I know nothing about technology, nothing about like artificial intelligence and whatnot. And this might be a question that you're absolutely inundated with. So if you're bored answering this question, just let me know. We can talk about something else. But but I'm actually for a change intrigued by everything that's happening in like the artificial intelligence world, especially with Chat GPT. Even the people who don't know head or tail about artificial intelligence have been sort of intrigued by how Chat GPT works. And the other day, just a couple of days back, is when I actually finally made an account on Chat GPT. And just as an experiment, I typed out life lessons from Virat Kohli. And it typed out like 5 or 6 life lessons from Virat Kohli. And I read all of them and I was like, you know what? This is like pretty solid. Like everything that's written here is pretty solid. The other example that I'll give you is that recently Ali Abdal on Twitter, he posted a thread where he talked about his 10 productivity hacks. And this ended up becoming one of his most liked, one of his most retweeted Twitter threads. A week after having posted that, he said this was completely written by AI. And he was doing an experiment to see if AI can actually replace humans. I know it's a question that's a very common question, and different people have different takes. But what is your take in general about AI, about Chat GPT? And do you actually think, given an example like Chat GPT, can AI replace humans?
Sure. My idea is, let me tell you in short, my answer will be yes, it can. But let me tell you with an example.
Hmm.
So let's say for a startup, the chances of startup hiring new employees are minimum now. A startup can manage, copywriting, marketing, or as compared marketing, a lot of things they've needed to. Okay, let me start with an idea of content creation. First thing you need is like making a video, captions, subtitles, audio monitoring. All of these things can be done by AI now. For example, I used to spend 30 minutes on my audio of and video, that like audio mein bass badhani hai, I want to reduce the background noise. That is completely changed with Adobe Enhance feature. I just upload my audio, export it, put it on Adobe, and the AI generates an audio which is better than I used to do before. So
Wow.
that job is gone. Like me sending an audio to a audio editor, that is gone. Another job that a startup or new YouTube channel needs is of creating cool images for thumbnails. That is also partly gone because cool images, as an example, could be created by AI, like Dali and Midjourney. They're creating so cool images. Like you can just put in an image of a shoe, it will create it graphically so appealing. You
Oh,
can just
beautiful.
take it for a thumbnail. So that image is sometimes better than what you send to people on Fiverr, like $5-10 that people used to share. So that job is definitely gone. So in terms of startup, a new YouTube channel, hiring people to manage things, those jobs are definitely gone. But
Okay.
in terms of big industry, let's say it's a big corporation like Mr. Beast as a content creator. If he has 10 content writers, now that can be cut down to like 5, because 5 can like use AI to write better, because AI is sometimes able to write better than humans. So why will not they use it? So
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
terms of jobs that are gone, they are definitely gone in more in number for startups when they're initially hiring. But in terms of big corporations, the numbers will be reduced. And a big example could be my software industry. If I want to make an Android app, half of the app as a template will be given to me by ChatGPT now. I
Okay.
can use that template and edit it and then publish or like use the app. But before, what used to happen was कि मुझे manually structure draw करना है. Like all the automated part of the app is done by AI. I'm able to code faster. I'm able to make the product at least like 2 times faster for sure. Like more core part of the app, जो आप Android app बनाते हो, a lot of that is like repetitive stuff, and that
Okay.
is
Okay.
already done by the AI within seconds. And that's why I think 50% of type of engineers is saved. Similarly, 50% of engineers can be reduced to in that case in future. Like if this becomes more perfect, like if engineers can achieve things that used to take 3 weeks in a sprint time, if they can achieve now in 15 days, then number of engineers can also reduce in the same math, right? Ab same figure out karke dekho. So, but that happening right now is less. The probability is less for engineers because abhi ke liye, like for now, what I think is AI is not always accurate. It is at the level that it will always make one mistake in like five prompts. Like if you just search for a simple question, there's a huge probability it can make a mistake. So that mistake can cost corporations a big amount. So
I
that's
see.
why they don't want to become reliant on
I
ChatGPT that
see.
fast. But when that happens for big industries, replacing replacing some humans or some employees can be easier. But for big corporation, it's not achieved to that level, but it can happen. But for startups, what I'm saying is it can easily happen now.
I see. I see. Because I was under the impression that, or my thinking was that any job where there's human judgment involved or human creativity involved, a machine won't be able to replace a human. But with a couple of examples that you gave, creative writing, thumbnail designing, like those are things where creativity is involved. But the fact that you have tools now that can do creative work as well, if not better than a human counterpart, then I think that's definitely something that's fascinating and maybe scary as well to some extent. No.
It is. You're saying that what creative work cannot be done by AI is completely wrong. You said that it can be done too, but
Yeah,
I want to say
because
that some people say
exactly
that
initially, what I'm saying is, like, another way of saying what I said was, initially I thought the jobs that don't require skills, that don't require judgment, that don't require creativity, the jobs that are very mechanical, those definitely can be replaced by AI. And I felt ki, acha, whatever this human judgment that's involved, like maybe writing an article, writing a creative piece or creating a thumbnail, I never thought that a machine would be able to do it as well, if not better than a human being. But the fact that you have creative tasks which require human judgment being done by machines as well, that's what I find fascinating and scary at the same time.
sure, if you look at the technicality, like if there is only like 10 ideas, like up AI को train कर दो कि 10 ideas in terms of productivity, as you mentioned. Let's say there are 10 ideas, आपने AI को train कर दिया, and now if you ask the AI question, tell me an idea that no one knows, it will
Huh?
still give an answer. It can just look at those 10 ideas, interpret it, and give you the 11th idea which is not in the list. That is the power of AI. So it is able to master creativity too. Like it can actually tell an idea which doesn't exist in the world. That is the scary part of it.
Wow. Wow. And I'm guessing you in your job, you end up using AI, or are you typically using it for your content creation endeavors?
I am allowed to because Microsoft has big investment in ChatGPT and
Yeah.
Bing. We are allowed to some degree, like not the confidential part of our code base, but
Okay.
the things that we have permission for, we are able to use AI for
Yeah.
automation and we are able to use it for code. But other companies who think that they are competitors, like they might not allow it. For example, Google has barred. They might say that, oh, why use Microsoft tool? They might not, but I am 100% allow it, and I truly believe it has increased my productivity to an exceptional level. And you will not believe the last video I made about the the reason why people are leaving California. I first use AI to use the script, and first use AI to look at the points, the reason why people are leaving California.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
I read the articles because
Oh,
at the time I already have the ideas in mind.
makes
I just
sense.
try to verify because AI can do mistakes. And when I do that, and I still come back to the AI script and use that in my video because it's already accurate. I
Yeah.
confirmed it. So
Yeah.
why not, if I have the answer within seconds in front of my eyes, why to like take screenshots of an article which are hard to find? So that's the power of it.
Crazy, dude. You said AI has definitely enhanced your productivity, and I think that's a beautiful segue to what I have next on my list, which is your time management, dude. Like, how do you manage your time? Because I have a list of like the things that you do, but I'm pretty sure there are lots of other things as well. So you've got YouTube, you've got Instagram, you've got your job at Microsoft, girlfriend, fitness, and now you're going to be filming the sequel of Sing is King as well. but but how do you balance all of this, dude? How do you balance all of this? And I'm guessing there are constraints as well. I'm guessing you want to be sleeping like a certain number of hours because you want to maintain your physique. Otherwise, you're going to be cranky throughout the day, and you won't be able to you won't be able to do everything that I mentioned in happy spirits. So what hacks do you have? What do you follow?
Sure. Sorry to interrupt. Can you repeat the last thing you said after girlfriend, like in the list?
I said girlfriend, fitness, filming the sequel of Sing is King. That was just a joke. I was just being facetious there. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, given all of these demands on your time, like how do you juggle everything, mate?
Sure. So my idea of time management is, first I try to maintain a to-do list. All the things I have to do, there are two. One for my full-time job and one is for content creation. Both lists are independent, and 9 to 5 job, I just look at my to-do list for my work, and for creative, after 5 p.m. I just look at my list for my YouTube, Instagram, etc. Now, in this whole process, the most important part for me is the person I'm with. I truly try to pay attention to the person. If I am, like, with you or with a friend, with girlfriend, I will stay away from my phone. I'll just keep it away from me, and my full attention is always with the person I am, because that's the highest priority. Because if I am with my nanny, I need to give her time, and like, family is part of my system. Coming back to atomic habits, creating system is the biggest part of reaching your goal. Like, right system include my family, and I try to give my 100% time towards it, including girlfriend, nanny, friends, family, etc. And then comes my to-do list. Like, every day to-do list has content goals, and to-do list also comes with fitness goals, like 2-minute meditation. I just don't have to make a goal of it. It's already a habit after 21 days of practicing it. 2 minutes of working out is already a habit, so it just comes out. Like right now it's 11 p.m, 11:45, and I didn't go to gym today. I did run in the morning, but I still will do 10 minute of push-ups, or will do bench press. I'll go back and just do 2 to 5 minutes, whatever time I have, and I'll still try to achieve it. And as you said, failure amount is too small that I'll still feel happy about it, as compared to hating myself.
And what does your morning routine look like? Do you typically, are you the type of person, because you said after 5 p.m. you work on your creative stuff once you're done with your 9 to 5? So are you usually working out in the morning? Like, what does your morning routine look like from the time you wake up?
Sure. In the morning, I just I just wake up 5 minutes before my first meeting. Like, I
Okay.
just try to, the moment I wake up, I just want to constantly work on things. So let's say my first meeting is at 8:30 a.m. I'll wake up at
uh,
8:25 a.m. And I always have a habit of having just one alarm. And like, one alarm is there, I will be like, oh shit, it's time to do something. So,
yeah,
like,
yeah,
it just wakes me up immediately. I did have in my history, like, 10 alarms, then none of my alarms will I'll pay attention to. I'll just
yeah,
snooze and sleep. So
yeah,
as
yeah.
compared to that, I just have one alarm to just constantly be worried that, oh, it is the time. So since I have made this habit, I just wake up at 8:25, attend my first meeting at 8:30, and then just ready with 9 to 5.
That's super. And you end up making sure that you're getting like 7 to 8 hours of sleep on a daily basis.
In the history, I'll say last year was bad in terms of sleep, because I was like, I'll do editing, filmmaking, everything on my own. So I cut down my sleep to 5 to 6 hours, like Shah Rukh Khan, as he had said
Yeah,
in one of
yeah,
his
yeah,
inspirational videos. I was very
yeah,
inspired by that. Like, but it actually affected me in a bad way. Like, I felt more burned out when I was sleeping for 5 to 6 hours. At the end of the day, I was also, even though I was able to get 8 hours in the weekends after that, but I felt like, यार, मतलब वो productivity आ रही है, but I am getting affected negatively in terms of my eyes. मेरा eyes का number बढ़ने लग गया था. Even though, like,
समझ गया.
because it's all on screen, right? You have to give your eyes break too. That the full break that your eyes need is also 7 to 8 hours. So I had to now come to a point that I'm giving more time towards my mind and, like, my body. I'm sleeping for 7 to 8 hours now. So, but in the
Great.
beginning, in the last 4 years, I have slept for 5 to 6 hours, to be honest.
Understood. So next SRK in the making. But Harnoor, mate, had a gem of a time, had a gem of a conversation. I swear I had like so many of these notes and whatnot prepared. I barely looked at my screen a couple of times, will be towards the end. Like, that's how free flowing, organic the entire conversation was. Like, from the moment you joined the the virtual studio. It's 11:45. I know you've got work tomorrow, so I'll let you go right now. But truly, mate, truly, we barely scratched the surface. I feel like we could continue talking on and on and on and on and on.
And it was wonderful talking to you as well. All the things that I've learned are still in my mind. All the books you mentioned, all the lessons you told me, the quote from MS Dhoni, I have in my mind, and it is going to definitely impact in my future conversations because, conversation is a skill which comes from practice. Last time I talked to you, I was actually nervous because, like, talking to someone who is so good at conversations, and I'm someone who is not as good as you. That's what I used to think 2 years ago, but I'm like definitely catching up with my skill. And by talking to you now, I feel even more confident, and I keep on taking the lessons and skills what you have shared with me, and I'll take it forward in my life. Yeah.
Let me tell you, a conversationalist is only as good as the conversationalist's fellow conversationalist. So, so it's a testament to how good you were as well during the conversation. So it's a dance, it's a dance. So it's not one person who's involved in it. It's two people who are involved in it. And if a dance is like beautiful, then both the participants who were dancing together make it a beautiful dance.
I'll take it as a compliment again. Thank you so much, and it was wonderful talking to you.
Likewise, buddy. Thank you so much, bro.